Semi-final time. We have two world champions squaring off in this half of the draw, while a resurgent Krzysztof Ratajski takes on a surgent Ricardo Pietreczko. He's never been surgent to be resurgent, but he is certainly on the up. These two, well, you could argue that Gary Anderson is resurgent because
25.
he really is playing some magnificent stuff. He's averaging pretty
25.
much 100 for the day. He's had some stunning displays, particularly in his victory against Dimitri Vandenberg. And he's just seen off Jan van Veen, a very talented young Dutchman who caused him all sorts of problems when they last met on the Pro Tour.
Bullseye.
But he managed to nick that one 6-5, go all the way to the final, but then
Outside.
lost in
Gerwyn's
that
on the ball.
final to Ross Smith. Now, on that
First
journey,
leg, Gerwyn
he
control.
beat
First
Gerwyn
game
Price
on.
in the semis in a very tight, hotly contested contest. Is the same thing going to happen? Or is the Iceman going to pick up another victory against Gary Anderson? Because Paul Nicholson, he does beat him more often
68.
than not in recent times.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. But it's a fascinating rivalry, isn't it? And a lot of people thought that maybe
140.
the story of the slam and everything that went with it would mean that that would just be maybe the end chapter, but I think there's a lot
140.
more legs in this rivalry. Maybe not to the venomous degree, but maybe in a quality sense over the next few seasons.
140.
I think we might see a lot more of these battles, especially when Gary is deciding to play the Euro Tour again.
Well, Gary Anderson, there were question marks
140.
about what his career would look like at the start of this year. Outside of the qualifying spots for all the TV tournaments, pretty
180.
much. But that 180 leaves him on 41. Price looking at 153 and cannot get it. Anderson is answering questions about his career
57.
with the effort he's putting in. He's practicing with Ryan Searle. He's playing top darts again. He's travelling to Europe on the Euro Tour. And he's hitting double 16 for an 11 dart start against Gerwyn Price.
If you're going to have a bad dart in an 11 darter, do it on the single. It almost hit the 18 segment, but this is a really good start. It's the perfect way
25.
to break the throw, really, considering he lost the bullseye. You make the bullseye irrelevant if you break in leg 1 in a quest for 7 legs to make the final against Ratajski or
60.
Pietreczko.
And Gary just checking out the points on his darts there after that bounce out, making sure they're all right.
Sometimes when they get a bounce out with a really sharp point that he uses, you could get a little burr or a little spur on the end, and it causes
140.
the pointy end to just curve a little bit. If that happens, you either replace the dart, or what you do
99.
is you just shave it down with something that you might have in your case. I think there may have been some sort of racket in the background.
Oh,
Something's fallen over.
Some almighty clatter. But nice to see Gary and Gezi sharing a little joke there. Having a lovely
95.
time.
One word that comes to mind is bygones.
45.
To be fair, it was all smiles and joking at the start of their last meeting in a semi-final. It did get a little bit tense towards the end, but I
120.
do wonder whether that bounce out might be a result of that point issue.
He does get the darts to lean a little bit left, like Brendan Dolan
100.
does. A bit like Florian Hempel. I was talking about that earlier when they played each other. You can see the little wobble in the dart when it hits the board.
Game shot.
Doesn't make any difference, does it?
Well, 1-2-1 finish. Gary Anderson didn't
140.
need to go the ball route, but once he hit the treble 11, double 14 would do the job. Perfectly fine double.
That's the dart. When it hits the board, it's going in
100.
a little bit sideways. And he gets a wobbler every now and again. Price doesn't get that because they go in straight.
121.
It's something that Gary struggled with for, I think, for around 6 years. Ever since he won his second world title in 2016. I don't think his darts have gone in
180.
straight, but his ability to just go with it is amazing.
Well, he's flown out the blocks here.
58.
Said after losing in the final to Ross Smith,
140.
Threatened to pick up the title in Players' Championship 5 in the, what, week and a half ago. So he just ran out of steam. He was tired, it was a long day, he was
43.
struggling, and he couldn't perform to the levels that he'd shown all day in that final. Well, right now, he's looking pretty fresh. Bullseye for 3-0, and it would have been a
56.
double break.
You do get the feeling, if that's the case, he's a bit more in tune with what he needs to get to the end this time
60.
round. Now, historically, it's been 1 double 12. He's changed the plan. It's
17.
a plan that doesn't work this time.
Well, that leaves an awkward double 11.
Game
Not
shot.
too awkward for Gerwyn Price. Well, he survived a scare there. It could have been 3-0 and a double break, but Gary Anderson missing the bull and 2 at double 8 allows Gerwyn Price to get a foothold in this contest.
Gary's seen a world title won
140.
against him on that double. Adrian Lewis at double 11 to win his first world title, which was a great final.
43.
Well, you mentioned his change of tactic, going to double 8 to clear up the 25. And double 12 were the darts that he, or the double that he
100.
won both his world titles on, weren't they?
Do you remember the double that Price hit to win his world title?
60.
Well, I remember he missed 1 million darts for it
Yep.
before he... Was it double 2 in the end or something?
It's double 5.
Double 5.
140.
That was against Gary, of course. Back in the 2021 championship when there were 0 fans there.
40.
Yeah, one of a number of finals that Gary Anderson has reached since his last ranking title at the start of 2020. He has not won anything since. He's been in 5 finals. Gary Anderson, again, leaving double 16.
89.
Not leaving tops. A change of tactic from Gary.
90.
And maybe the game plan that he had to win the world titles,
Game shot.
it's almost coated in this amber colour and is now an antique. This is a new Gary Anderson approach, but it's working so far in the semi-final.
He's averaging 111 here.
134.
He was always a tops and 10s and 12s kind of guy, but maybe that slight kink when the dart hits the
40.
board, it lends itself to double 16 and double 8 being a bit more fruitful.
Well, there may be the thinking behind it. And you see the gap in
58.
the averages there. We've seen players... Averages are only a guide. And we've seen players win games of darts and they've averaged 15 points less than their opponent. But you are not going to see anybody win a game of darts
180.
if they are averaging 25 points less than their opponent. I will give you a cast-iron guarantee of that.
I think Mark Wilson over on the other streaming board is being
139.
treated to an unbelievable match. It's 4 legs deep. Ratajski's averaging 112.5. Pietreczko's 110.
Well, whoever wins this
140.
could have their hands full in the final, particularly if it's Christoph Ratajski. But Price wants another. I don't think that's in. It's not.
100.
The 141 is on. Still on double 12. When you need a friend, in the top left corner, it comes calling once again. It's not for a world title, but it gives him another valuable leg. 3 away from another final, Ando, now.
Well, this is vintage.
57.
Gary Anderson, it genuinely looked. He'd set, business options up away from the game.
78.
He was dropping down the rankings. He'd not won a title for 3 years. It's all set up for Gary Anderson, who has nothing else to prove. Nothing else to do in
180.
this game. He's done it all. Could just walk away. But he's shown that he's got the desire and the hunger to do the hard yards
45.
and compete. And when he does, he is still one of the most mesmerising darts players on planet Earth.
I've got a sneaky suspicion, that
81.
if he had a full deck right now, he would retire. But maybe the motivating factor, apart from money,
60.
because there's a lot of money on offer as well, we can't forget about that. He hasn't got a full deck. He hasn't got a Grand Slam or a World Grand Prix.
Well, the Grand
That
Slam,
matters.
the Grand
83.
Slam is certainly the one that he's always had his eye on, and he's never quite got there. Unlike this man, the 3-time Grand Slam champion.
100.
60 for tops then. You look north. And that was a
60.
half-hearted attempt, really, at a double top. If he'd have edged it, he would have gone for the other tops as well. But he knows that Price on 218, he
98.
can just get a cagey single and then line up this, possibly for a 17 darter and double 10. Oh, look, it's double 5.
Game shot.
And it's an 18 darter to get the 5-1 lead. Price is in real trouble here.
Gary Anderson is 5-1 up. He missed 3 darts to win the leg he lost.
140.
It's turning into a toweling, but it could have been an obliteration. 2 more legs required to reach the final.
131.
We looked into it, didn't we, about Anderson's record in finals since he last won a PDC event,
121.
which was back on the 8th of February 2020. So we're talking 3 years and about 6 weeks.
40.
Since then, he's lost in the match play final and the world final to Dimitri Vandenberg and Gerwyn Price, respectively. Lost to Damon Hetter in
45.
a Players' Championship final last year. Now, he played amazing up until Damon played amazing in that final, averaging 107. But also the Nordic Darts Masters last year to Dimitri
60.
and to Ross Smith recently. So his final hit rate over the last 3 years is 0, pretty much.
105.
We can't keep playing at the level he's playing so far this year and not win things, in my opinion. He's been that good. I didn't know
100.
if he'd be able to play at this level consistently, because he certainly hasn't been doing in the previous 3 years. Well, Gerwyn Price leaves himself tops for just a second leg.
50.
And he misses high. And would you bet against Anderson producing this?
Depends on dart 1, where it is in the 60 if he gets it. And he doesn't. That's a good job Gerwyn Price is a world-class dart player, because he would
60.
make a terrible juggler.
Game shot.
Well, he does have a second leg, but Gerwyn Price has the demeanour of a man that feels that it's a futile endeavour. And playing against Gary Anderson when he's on song, that can happen to you. I'm sure you've experienced it, Paul.
91.
Yeah, when you play Gary, you know you're going to get a tousling.
41.
You're never going to stuff him. But if you can just stick with him early and just maybe see a couple of misses in there and take
60.
advantage of that, you can worry him a little bit. I've played Gary in a semi-final of a Players' Championship and beaten him.
60.
And it was a tough encounter. I felt really tired at the end of it. Luckily, I had enough strength to beat Adrian Lewis in the final. But he's been doing this for a very, very long
24.
time now, Gary. We're talking about over 2 decades.
Well, my phone has just flashed with Gary Anderson's practice partner, Ryan Searle, who spent the first few weekends of Pro Tour action saying
140.
Gary is playing incredibly. He's going to win one of these. And Heavy Metal has offered, I told you. Nothing else.
180.
Is he saving the saw?
Well, it turns out Ryan Searle has picked up a win this weekend. He's not even
140.
shown up to these events, and he's still managing to get things right. Because Gary Anderson looks like he's going to convert this into a place in the final.
90.
Not over yet, though. And as long as Price can keep him 2 legs away, you'll fancy his chances. It's 2 balls.
Well, that would have been some shot, wouldn't it? I'm surprised he went for the bullseye, actually, because if
62.
anybody was going to bypass that blocker, it was going to be Price. And it could be curtains for
Game
Gerwyn
shot.
now that Anderson is 6-2 up. We've seen him fight back from positions like this before, particularly against Damon Hetter in a final last year where he
140.
went berserk for about 6 or 7 legs. But I just wonder if there's any hope for him.
Well, you just look at his body language. You look at the way he's
140.
playing. Even then, he's gone for 2 balls because he thinks, oh, well, I may as well give it a go. He doesn't look like a guy who believes he can
35.
turn this around.
And we're talking about a player in the Iceman who has not won a ranking tournament this year either. His last win was in November of last year, and that's not as
140.
big a drought, of course. But it will annoy him that he hasn't got a ranking win yet, in the same vein as Luke Humphreys, who's
140.
played astonishingly well, but still hasn't got the victory.
Well, a trio of ton 40s for Gary Anderson, a real professional leg, and a chance to close it out for a dominant 7-2 win.
140.
Gerwyn Price with a ton 40 to leave him on a simple checkout. It may be irrelevant. Can he save it? He can't. Gary Anderson should have got a match dart there. He did not get one.
Double top to keep this one alive. He had some serious problems on that double top against Michael van Gerwen earlier, but not there. He misses that. He knows he's out. At least he's got a fighting chance.
123.
Just keeps on coming, Anderson, though. It's a good job, Gerwyn. I mean, Gerwyn is probably the quickest player to the oche and ready to throw out of everybody. And that has caused issues in the past, as
60.
we all know. But probably...
Are we going to go down that road?
No, we all know the story. But he did wait there. Didn't end up
100.
pinning Gary to the board.
Yeah, we don't need that to happen. I think Gezi
40.
is starting to wave that white flag a little bit. It just isn't happening for him.
Well, it's just been relentless from Anderson, hasn't it? The average isn't up at 110 like it was earlier, but it's still above 100.
140.
And a 16, 17 point gap in the averages. He's done well to get 3 legs.
96.
Make no mistake as well, Anderson early was irresistible. He was on another level. And he's a brilliant front runner. Just look at what he did to Jelle Klassen in the semi-finals of the World Championship in 2016. He won 6 sets to 0.
81.
He got a 9-darter in the first set, was it? And then after that, he just went, oh, I'll have a bit more of that, thank you very much. He gets a real kick out of front running.
57 to seal it. Double top. Great marker.
17.
Bends the wire. I mean, this would be interesting. Be really interesting, wouldn't it? Whoa, but not quite finding the treble 19. It's more match darts for Gary Anderson. A place in the final awaits.
And there it is, right in the middle. And he gets the better of Price in a semi-final once again in 2023. And it will be Anderson maybe playing against Krzysztof Ratajski in the final, because he's 6-2 up on Ricardo Pietreczko right now. It's a high level from Anderson all day long. Funnily enough, that's about par for him today, but the doubles are good as well. That 1-4-1 checkout, probably the biggest highlight and the big catalyst for Anderson to have that lengthy victory by 4 legs in the end. Stick with us here on Stream 1. We will have the final for you. It's not far away.